Yes, Mr. Oh, yes, sorry. This question will be directed to Mr. Uwem Imons. So, what are some common mistakes that ICAN students make while preparing for their exams, and how can they be avoided?
Okay, so the ICAN exams is people call it difficult, but I think it's one of the interesting and quite easy exams to pass if we do things right. So there are a few mistakes students make, which I think is important that we all learn from. One of the mistakes people make is that they start preparing for the exam without having a plan. And so they just get up every day, whatever you feel like you study, or wherever you stop, you feel, oh, that's the end for that day, and then you move on to the next day. That's not a good way to prepare for academic exams. You need to have a plan. In other words, by the time you start your journey for that diet, you need to tell yourself, in week 1, this is what I'm going to cover. In week 2, this is what I'll cover. This is when I'll finish my class, or my materials. And this is when I'll move on to the next stage in my preparation. So the first stage is having a plan. And I think that's where ICAN Online Tutor is very, very helpful, because from the word go, you have a plan for each of the courses. So you can just adopt that for your own plan as well, and make sure that you cover the topics week in, week out. A second mistake people do when it comes to preparing for the exam is not making adequate time for practice questions. Because in the course of the classes, you're going to cover topic by topic. But in the actual exam, you could have one question bringing up questions from more than one topic. So you have a question that has questions from 2, 3 topics. If you've not practiced with the actual past papers, you won't know how to approach those exams. And so I often advise people that for each topic you study, please ensure that you look at past questions. And most students don't. And I think that's the mistake they make. So if you've made that mistake before, please now is an opportunity to make adjustments in that area. Ensure you practice, and ensure you have enough time to review and look at past questions. A third mistake people make is they go into an exam without doing a full mock. And then they come out and say, I didn't have time to attend all the questions, or I didn't have all time because they didn't put themselves in the exam situation before the actual exams. And so before you attend any paper, it's important you have a mock exam. You're able to test the different part of a question under time conditions. And so that helps put you in that situation where you're very familiar with the exam condition. The fourth mistake would be that people try to predict, focus too much on predicting questions that would come out. Yes, there are certain topics that would often come out. There are certain topics that are important that you study and you know very well. But be that as it may, it's also important to have a general idea of all the questions, because sometimes what you think might be there might actually not be there. I can't. It will surprise you sometimes. So don't focus all your attention on just the frequently tested area. Be familiar with them, be very good at them, or as much as possible, try to also look at other areas. And then finally, students make a mistake of looking at different materials and they get confused. So you pick a textbook, you move on to the next textbook, you move on to the other textbook, you come back to ICAN part, you go to the third video, and even the week of exam, people are still looking for material. It will not help you. It will only get you confused. So if you want to pass ICAN exam, the recommendation would be get a good study material, stick to that material, and just have a pathfinder, past questions by the side to just support your preparation. Don't go after too many materials. It's not helpful, and it will rather draw you back in your preparation. So let me stop at that. Those are quite a number of points I've highlighted, which we want to take note of. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for that, Mr. Uwem. We appreciate that. Mr. Olatunji Wahab. So I'll be directing this question to you. Are you there, sir?
Okay. Yes.
So pertaining to conflicting priorities. So I would love to ask, how did you balance your work or other commitments with your ICAN exam preparation? And what advice do you have regarding maintaining a healthy study life balance?
All right. Thank you for that. So I would like to share this with everyone writing this ICAN examination. Although we understand that the majority are working class, and it is not easy combining ICAN exam to your work, but you can make it possible. And how can you make it possible? Your work is taxi. We all understand that. Then also considering those that are working in Lagos as another factor that may hinder the progress and the success of your examination. But you can balance both by making your time. As part of what Mr. Unwen said, he said you need to plan. Without proper planning, your goal may not be actualized. So how will you plan in order not to affect both your work as well as your preparation towards passing your ICAN examination? You have to schedule your timing. You have your plan. Let's consider those that are having up to 4 or 5 papers to write. Just pick minimum of 2 hours for 24 hours to practice each of the topic, each of the courses that you are writing. Let's assume you are writing 5 papers and you have Monday to Friday. And depending on your conveniency, that is how you need to balance both your work environment and that of your preparation towards your ICAN examination. It cannot be too tasky for us not to have minimum of 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes to set aside for the whole 24 hours. Or let's say we can't call it 24 hours. Let's just say we have about 12 to 14 hours. Out of these 14 hours, it cannot be too more busy for us not to set aside minimum of 1 hour. And what are we using 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes, maximum 2 hours to do out of what we need to do on a daily basis? We have our weekends to study, to work together with our tutors, to learn what we are being paid for, and to prepare for the examination. And you use these 2 days, both Saturdays and Sundays, to have the activities of the class, but just have to create a plan for each of the days. Minimum 1 hour, then maximum you have 2 hours. So let's assume for those that are having 5 papers, as I was mentioning earlier, that you are having 1 hour per day for each of the courses, Monday to Friday, exclusive of Saturdays and Sundays. Then how will you be able to manage this? That's another thing. You will identify what time is convenient. The time that could be convenient to me may be inconvenient to another person, but I will know how the business activities of my work environment is compared to others. So let's assume for someone that can have time during the work hour, like 30 minutes or 1 hour. There are some of us that even have more than 30 minutes, more than 1 hour during the work hours. So we can utilize this period. And what do we want to do for this period? We're having practice questions. And I believe we are doing that in ICAN online tutors. After each topic that we are treating, we are having nothing less than 1 to 2 practice questions for us to do on our own. So put your pen on paper. Try to make an attempt on what you have learned previously to be able to understand if you are flowing with what the lecturer has said over the weekends. So let me go back to where we are. So for those that identify their convenient hours, if it is during the working hour, then you utilize it. While there are some that their own available time might not be during the working hour, you can fix your convenient time to after work. We know it is also tasky, but you need to create it. As tasky as it is, once you put down something on your on your paper to make an attempt, something will have to bring you up to what do the lecturer said when we have something relating to this. Then what can you do for you to bail yourself out when you're having this kind of situation? We have the WhatsApp group. What do you just do? Send the message to the WhatsApp group. If the lecturer is not attending to your question, your colleagues are also there, because we are all learning every day. This is part of what I did while I was writing the ICAN examination. I joined so many groups, although I didn't attempt any tuition houses, but any lecture, online lecture platform, I joined everything. Any question being thrown by any student or lecturer, what did I do? I go straight to that question to know if I understand what that person is asking or not. So with that, others that have knowledge about it, we have to make comments on it. As you are doing that, you ask that question, you are ahead of those that are making responses to what you are asking. So please, you just need to identify what time is convenient for you in order not to affect your work, and as well as the plan that you have, that at the end of this diet, I need to be a chartered accountant, or I need to pass this certain level to move on to the next level. So these are the things that we need to do, because if we are not trying to ensure that we manage both the work with that your ICAN preparation, one can affect the other. So you need to balance these two together, in as much as you have your.
Why is this loud now?
Are we there?
Yeah, you can find on, sir. Yeah.
Yes, please.
All right. So I would like to stop it here, because what you need to do is to identify. You have your plan first thing, then you need to identify what will be your convenient time in order not to affect your work, as well as you need to achieve something every day. So it will be an advantage for those that are not writing 5 papers. And how will it be an advantage? You make use of these 5 days. Don't say because I'm writing 1 paper. You can make use of the 5 days. The more you practice, the more you get close to passing that ICAN examination. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that, Mr. Olatunji Wahab. That was quite insightful. So yeah, moving on, we have so we have some questions that would be taken after this question that I want to ask tutors. So if you have questions, you can just prepare your questions. So after this questions directed to our tutors, the floor would be open for questions. Yeah, to entertain questions. So this question will be directed to both tutors, and in just 2 minutes, please, what advice or tips do you have for students who struggle with test anxiety or stress? So first, I think Mr. Amos can go first, and then Mr. Olatunji Wahab will take up from there.
Okay, so advice for students who have test anxiety. For me, first thing first, it's normal to be anxious. So don't look at it as if it's something out of the ordinary. It's normal. When we're doing something that we've been preparing for a long time, or something that we've not done before, it's normal to be anxious. However, we can prepare ourselves to reduce that anxiety and to face it with confidence. And how would we do that? The first step is to get familiar with what you are going in for. For the ICAN exams, as you practice questions, as you go through, study your materials, you review, you practice questions, it builds confidence in you. And with that confidence, it helps reduce that anxiety you face, because you know very well that you are fully prepared for that exam. Going into it, you're fully prepared. Therefore also means that for us to be able to reduce our anxiety and to be fully prepared, we need to make some sacrifices. Think of the benefit that comes with obtaining the ICAN exams. that new job, that promotion, that higher status in life, recognition that comes with it. It's worth the sacrifice. So make the sacrifice. Now it's not the time for social media. Now it's not the time for Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, this period. No. Make the sacrifice, prepare, practice questions, and that helps reduce your anxiety because you know that you're fully prepared. And then go into the exam, you have that confidence and you find yourself ready to actually pass the exams. And the IoT, for one good thing about IoT is that you don't need to search for materials all around. They give you everything you need for your exams. So if you focus on the materials, do your assignment, do the mock that comes along with it, that helps build confidence in you. And you can go into that exam feeling less tense and feeling ready to actually be part of that paper. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Olatunjiwa. Please, can you take on that? 2 minutes,
All right.
please. Thank you.
Okay, so I will buttress what Mr. Uwem just said now. What I also understand on anxiety is too much of activities. When you had too much of activities, not only on your study, other things can also cause anxiety. But let's base it on this ICAN examination. Anxiety can come in form of having too much of activities on a subject matter. And how do we come across this type of too much of activities? We mentioned this when you have too much of materials. Material A will give you a very straightforward method, which will be very easy to understand and it will be very easy to apply. You have another material that will break it down into different steps and levels. And at the end of the period, you will still arrive at what you need to achieve. Then you will still come across another material that will still give you a different techniques. With that, you have combined a lot of activities. You'll be confused of where to go, how to apply. And one thing about ICAN examination is just apply the strategy, apply the methodology. Look at the previous settings and what did I need in this application. So the anxiety will come when you find out a very cheap questions and you'll be looking at it. Is this possible for the exam to be in this form? The almighty ICAN, then with that, you'll be confused of where and how to start. With that, you won't even know what to do at the particular moment. That is why we said, let us stick to what we are giving to you here in ICAN online tutors. Please, you need to focus as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Olatunjiwa. Really appreciate that. So just before we take questions from the students, I would like to ask both of you maybe 1 or 2 questions, then pending the time the lead tutor for management information comes in. So I was let me start with Mr. Uwem. So as regards to SFM, you know, people usually say this is the control paper in the final level. You know, by control paper, I mean, maybe that's the most difficult of all the papers. And going by my own personal experience also, even though I enjoyed calculations a lot, SFM wasn't that easy. And I'm sure it's not always very easy for many people that have become chartered accountants. When you think about the complexity, when you think about the volume, over 40 topics, and these are not just little topics. So it's like, for me, it's like very huge, no doubt. But even at that, people still pass this course. People don't have a course to have reference in it. So, firstly, I noticed that there's this mindset students have when they get to the final level, and because of this mindset towards the SFM, there's already this fear that no, this exam is going to be very difficult. I might not be able to pass it at my first attempt, blah, 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 blah. But of course, I've seen many people pass it at their first attempt. In fact, I've seen a lot of people pass it at their first attempt. So what advice do you have for students that have this mindset towards the course? Do you think the course is that difficult, if going by the volume? And how should they approach the course itself? Please kindly do that in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think I share a different view about SFM. So for me, I think SFM is actually one of the easiest paper to pass. That's for a number of reasons. One, it's that the course itself it has volume about very few topics. So you have very few topics that it focuses on. So when you're looking at SFM, think of yourself as a strategic financial manager from 3 perspectives. One, from one sourcing for finance. So you try to arrange the topics around, okay, what topic speaks to someone, a company sourcing for finance, sourcing for the cheapest source of finance, how to source for finance. So you have a number of topics around that space where you have your cost of capital and the likes. Then when you source for finance, there's also another bucket for you need to utilize that fund to invest. So speak to a number of topics around investment. So bond valuation, local appraisal, international investment appraisal, mergers and acquisition, business combination. So that bucket all speaks to investment. And then there's another bucket that speaks, okay, after you've invested the money, you've made some return, you need to make some form of dividend decision. So you could have a few topics around there, such as your portfolio theory, your dividend theories, and things like that. So those are the 3 broad areas: financing, investment, and then dividend decision. Then on top of that is the concept of risk. So risk in terms of why risk is very broad, but the good thing for SFM is that we're speaking on just 2 parts of it, which is just a currency risk and our interest rate risk. So once you put your topics into those buckets, it's easier for you to study them along those lines. So you don't now feel them as a very bulky course, but rather as someone that is trying to make financing decision, investment decision, dividend decision, and then to manage risk. Now back to the exams. Now the thing about preparing for XFM exam is, one, it requires that you know the areas that are tested, which forms the basis for most of our topics. So topics like your investment appraiser, you know that you would often find a question around investment. So it could be local, it could be international, and that speaks to investment. It could be mergers and acquisition, things around source of finance, your cost of capital is something that is also very important to look at. And then thirdly, your risk management is also another area that you really need to know. Now, to master this topic, you need to practice. So for us at IoT, one good thing is that for each of the topics cover, the questions that are solved in class are taken from past papers. The assignments that are given are from past papers. So by the time you attempt this assignment, these questions, you get very familiar with the pattern of the exam and the way questions are asked in your exams. I often tell people that for SFM, just try as much as possible to ensure that the last 3 years, you solve all the questions in the last 3 years, the last 3 diet. So that gives you that confidence, that puts you in the shoe of how an actual exam should be like. We also have the mock exam as well, which is also very important as well to attempt and ensure that you get that within attempt all questions within the time. Now, there's one mistake students make about SFM, and that's even what makes SFM very easy. Most students focus too much attention on the calculation in SFM, and they forget that a big part of that paper is on theory. So if you pick any SFM exam paper, you will notice that between around 40% minimum is theory related questions. So even when you're not good in the calculation, you can take advantage of the theory questions to get your marks and pass that paper. So some people find themselves in such a way that the theory part, they completely ignore it, and then the calculation part, they are not too good. So what I would typically advise people is that, yes, do your calculation well, but ensure that you also pay very close attention to your theory part of your exam. Because if you are able to pick 30 marks from your theory, or even 25 marks from your theory, you only need like 25 marks from the calculation to get it right. And that will be very easy. You can even get that from the question one, really. And then you get the theory up and down, and then you're fine. So please don't focus on the calculation. Also look at the theory and ensure that you practice questions as much as possible, which puts you in that situation. Like I said, try and group your topics around those buckets. So when you're not studying for those topics, it's not easier when you pick a topic and you ask yourself, is this a financing decision? Is it an investment decision? Is it a dividend decision, or is it risk management? It helps you understand the topic better and how the link of that. Because really, most of the concepts you learn apply in a number of topics. If, for example, you're doing NPV, your knowledge on NPV will be applicable for your local investment appraisal. Your knowledge on NPV will be applicable for your international investment appraisal. Your knowledge of NPV will be applicable for your mergers and acquisition, and a number of other topics as well. To try and link these things up as you study some of these concepts. It then makes the syllabus to be small, and then makes it easier for you to apply the concept. Then finally, when it comes to the external exams, one mistake I've noticed most students make is that they want to answer the question you wished they had been asked. And that is a mistake we want to avoid. So for example, you do, say, international investment appraisal, and the tutor in that exam said, okay, my taxation, it does calculation in year one, and it says, oh, calculation tax in year one, it's 30% of year one profit, then does that and moves on. Now you pick your exam paper and you assume it should be that way. The exam tests your ability to analyze information. So, but the exam would have said, oh, taxation is maybe 50% in the current year, 50% the next year. You see? But because you program your mind on just what you saw in the practical exam, you don't put yourself in the question, you tend to make mistakes. Or even the cash flow stuff. Sometimes you see that the examiner says, oh, cash flow, year one, year two, year three. That was what they solved in the class. But in the actual paper, it says, oh, cash flow is to commence at the start of the project immediately. You know, that gives you a different, that is not the same thing you did in class that the examiner is asking, but the concept and the principles are actually the same. So as much as we're learning this concept in class, let's try to apply the knowledge to the actual exam rather than trying to answer the question we think the examiner should be asking us. Rather, we should be answering the actual question that is asked. So once we apply these principles and we do as much practice as we should, I think the SFM exam should be one of the easiest to pass, because it's basically, like I said, it's just 4 topics: financing decision, investment, dividend, and risk management. Those are just 4 topics in SFM. It's just subtopics under them that just makes it look easy. But really, there's nothing in there for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Uwem. Although I gave you 2 minutes, well, you took almost all our minutes.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm sure the students enjoyed your answers to the questions, and I'm sure they've learned from it also. So, Mr. Wasiu, can you confirm you are in this meeting now, so that we can take 1 or 2 questions on?
Yeah. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Yoda. So just before we ask you 1 or 2 questions as regards management information, can you briefly introduce yourself perhaps to those that may not know you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Yada Abdulwasir, and I'm the co-lecturer for Word for Management, Word Information and Word at IoT. I also take financial accounting and Word Business Management and Finance as well. So I welcome you once again for this live webinar.
Thank you, Mr. Yanda. Before I go ahead and ask you a question, can you tell us the trick? You know, many of our students say you say a lot of words. So I think, is it the magic word that you use in inspiring them to passing their exams? Mr. Yanda?
No, it's not. It's not that.
Okay, I was at the lighter mood. So yeah, let's go ahead. Management information is also another very important and perceived to be the control paper at the foundation level. So by control paper, I mean students see it as the most difficult to pass at that level. But of course, I always tell students that there's nothing like control paper in any of the stages. And of course, they should enjoy it and enjoy the courses, and also go and write the exams without any fear, or approach any of the courses without any fear. But nevertheless, this particular course is actually the course that students actually have some difficulties in passing. I know it's divided mainly into two parts, which is the information technology part and the cost accounting part. So in 2 minutes, can you just give us a brief summary on how students should approach this course and what they need to do to pass the management information exams?
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for that. On MI is not what it's not difficult, but it's somewhat challenging. It's not difficult, but it's somewhat challenging. And to just make it in a summarized way, that as a student, at least financial accounting is somewhat straightforward than words. Maybe financial accounting, BMF, or business law is somewhat straightforward than word than MI, to be honest. Because some of like financial accounting, which is the second calculation, and is a principle based in terms of what you are going to do is already stated. Like, oh, if my asset is increasing, I know that I will debit. There's already a guidelines for that. But in MI, it's not quite word. It's not really quite like that. There's no really more principle that will inform you that if certain transaction events or occur, this is how you're going to do it. So as a student, let me put it this way. One of the way you can able to at least pass this particular subject, just make sure that you balance the two. In terms of you balance the calculation part, and you also balance the theory part. Like me personally, any subject I come across and I know that there's theory, I usually focus on it very well. And just like my senior colleague has made mention as well in relating to the SFM. In terms of words, don't focus on the calculation alone. Make sure that you balance the two. And just like in MI, like everybody know, you have a 6 question. So you know that 3 come from cost accounting, and the remaining part will come from the IT. So even though there are some calculation that you're not really convenient with, but the theory part, you can actually specialize on it, and let's cross 50 and let everybody go. So what you just need to do as well is one, make sure you balance the two in terms of the 2 section of the syllabus. And another thing that will also I can also make mention is that just try as much as possible, understand it. For every particular topic, what are we trying to do in terms of the goal of that subject? Because if you are, well, let's say, for example, now you are calculating what now? EOQ now. Do you really know what EOQ is? So as you are learning it as well, make sure you really would. Maybe some of us, you can find yourself in the manufacturing environment, whereby you be you are using some of these things. So another thing that will also make mention in terms of what to make the passing easy is about what make sure you understand each of the topic in terms of this particular topic. What are we using it for? So once you're able to understand that, oh, this particular topic we are using it for, then from you having the understanding as well, that can really help when you are doing the computation. So I'm the formula, but make sure you understand it very well. And one of the way you can use the word, you can have understanding of it very well, is at least maybe some of us, you are not from management part before. Just make sure you listen to what the class is saying very well. And before you start the calculation, maybe at your own leisure time, make sure you understand, oh, this particular topic is for this. This particular own topic is for what, is for that. So that's the second thing that I will make mention of. And on the final note, just try as much as possible, stay with with some of the past question as well, in terms of what, some of the key topic that they are going to bring. And just like what my guy make mention regarding to SFA, in each subject as well, like MI, you're always going to see some regular topic. Just like a word as a student now, I can't be going for word for financial accounting word subject, then I will not know double entry. Or I can't be going for word for CR now, and I will not know what group account. So here as well, there are some key subjects that are regular, and most of them is usually on what element of course. You know your material, you know your labor, and you know your overhead. Most of the time, any of these three, you're always going to come across it. Because I usually say sometimes that there's sometimes we can't really understand everything, or we can't remember everything most of the time, to be honest with ourselves. But there are some things that you have to remember very well. There are some topics that you have to know very, very well. And which is for MI now, you'll be talking about what element of course, whether it's material, whether it's labor, or it is overhead. And on the final note as well, once you know the key topic that are usually tested, you understand the terms very well, then just stay with with the past question as well. Try as much as possible to solve as much as you can. And with that, understanding the topic, understanding the past question trend, and understanding each of the topic as well. Make sure you balance the two. Then at the end of this fall process, I think you should be able to find it very easy. By God grace. Sorry about Mr. Ridan for using more than time.
No problem. So I was really enjoying the session, and I'm sure your students and other people that are joining us were also enjoying the session. But it's so unfortunate that we have a limited time, and because of that, you had to stop at that point. So yes, in 5 minutes, we will take a few questions. So if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand so that we can ask you to unmute and ask your question, or you can drop it in the chat box. Okay, I can see one hand up, but before let's wait for others to raise their hands. So let me quickly take one of the questions on YouTube. We are streaming live on YouTube for those that would like to join us on YouTube. Remember to subscribe, like, and share so that others too can benefit from this live webinars and other programs that we organize. So Stanley Chuku on YouTube is saying, good evening, everyone. Thanks for the good work you are doing. Please, how can I get your tutorial lectures on performance management and also your WhatsApp group number? PM has been a nightmare for me. Wow, so sorry to hear that, Stanley Chuku, but you can be sure with ICAN Online Tutors, your nightmare is finally over. So if you want to reach out to us, you can visit our website on www.icanonlinetutors.com.ng, or you can contact us on any of these numbers: 070-4457-6011. I'll take that again: 070-4457-6011, or 0811-0866-896. I'll take that again: 0811-0866-896. Thank you so much, Stanley Chuku. We hope to hear from you soon. So we have 2 hands up. So we take these 2 questions very fast. So Vivian at Wangu Geagu. I hope I pronounced that very, very well. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce it very well. Vivian Umagu.
Thank you.
You have the.
Okay, can you hear me, sir? Good evening.
Yeah, we can hear you, Vivian. Please go ahead.
Okay, my question is directed to my management information tutor. So first of all, I would say that he has been really doing a lot. I mean, he's extremely good on management accounting, and he breaks it down to the various to the level that we all understand, and I give it to him. Kudos to him. Now, the question I want to ask is, well, I joined IoT, I think that was like late July, and then I've been following up with the lectures. Many a times I don't get to follow up with lectures on weekend because I still work weekends too, and then I only get to go back to the recording, and at my own convenient time, I would listen to the lectures. So it's more like I'm in between, like from one topic to another. So it was the last, I think last class we had on activity-based costing that I found out that a little of accounting for labor and material came into the question. And then I found out that I didn't actually study accounting for material and labor before jumping down to overhead and ABC. So now my question is this: I have less than 90 days, that's like 2 months and few weeks to read up so I could be able to cover loads. So I don't know, I want my lecturer to tell me if I can be able to cover up within the space of this 2 months, because yesterday I had to like do a timetable, a schedule as to how I can cover up these topics from the beginning. So I want to like take them from the beginning. So I need him to tell me if it's possible for me to cover up the topics from the beginning to the end and still practice past questions and also more questions. Thank you.
So, Mr. Anya, that question was directed to you. So she's asking if 2 months and about 2 or 3 weeks can be enough for her to cover the our course outline for management information, take the mock exams, join the revision class, which we organize at IoT, and pass the exam. So, Mr. Anyada, in 1 minute, please.
Yes, just to go straight to the point, it's possible. Let me start with that. It's possible to cover everything, even looking at your schedule as well. And you see, it's possible. So let me just start with that. And another very important thing, just like you make mention of, is that you see, when it comes to element of course, just like the ABC that you're trying to talk about, there's some time that you can have some mixture of word question that will still relate with one of them. So meaning that word, if you know, we are saying that word cost now make up of 3 things. There's my material, there's my labor, and there's, so if they're testing question on word on, let's say a particular word now, element, then it can also come across words. It can also touch another word, another part as well. Just like, oh, I'm learning about what now, overhead. Then I also know that what, oh, material is also there as well, and labor is also there. So once you have those types of word now, topic that you know that, oh, they are together. So what you just need to be doing, don't be worried, don't be scared of word, don't be scared of it. Just try as much as possible that as you are learning the word, the topic, once at the beginning, you know that, oh, these are my element of course, then you know that other things that relate with it, you just need to try as much as possible to also work, to also learn that as well. So that as you are learning one, it will also give you knowledge when you get to the work, to the next one. So just like in what in end product is what is possible, and not just because as a word, as a lecturer, but it's possible for you to work within the word before getting to what to November, you can actually what cover it. And I also pray by God grace you pass. So is what is possible. Just try as much as possible. Try your best. Look at some of your work. Look at some of your schedule as well. And by God grace, you're going to pass it. Mr. Reader, go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abdulwasi, for that. So let's quickly take the next question. So Lemon Yakub, quickly in 1 minute, ask your question so that we can move.
Hello, good evening, and thank
Yeah,
you
good
for
evening.
organizing this particular insightful session for us. Really appreciate. But my question is, whether if I'll be allowed to ask all the two questions. The first one is about the academics. And I really appreciate all that has been given to us. Really appreciate. But my schedule, like you are 7 in the morning and I close roughly 7, 8 in the evening. So up after my work, because that's the only time I have to study. So as a matter of fact, when I to a learning environment to sit down for 2, 3 hours and try and grab some things before I go back home to go and sleep. So with the pressure of the work I do about my academics lately, it's telling on my health. Right now, I don't know, sound my voice a bit cracky. So that's the aspect that is already telling on my health. For me, apart from what you have all said, I know it's very important, but is there any other thing I can do? Because as it is happening, of trying to get confused, it's already there. I started this, I was doing 2 hours, then I realized that there's a lot for me to months that is remaining to the exam. And I'm somebody that have a great phobia for failure. I really abhor failure. So what try to push myself, it's already telling on my health. Like yesterday and today, I couldn't do anything. So I still have to go to work because that's what we have been paid to do. So that's that one. I don't know what you can advise me on from that angle. Then the second part is giving us in the lecture. I believe it's skewed towards what we are going to come across in the exam. I believe that. But for the other part, like say, and you give us assignment to go and see to how we're going to, like, whether we really grasp what we have learned. Can use to skew some of their exits. Sometimes something you really have confidence that you have covered. By the time you get to the exam hall, that exam environment tension will make you forget, like say, and in that situation, what do you advise someone to do? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Sulaiman Yakub. So I will let Mr. Uwem in 1 minute answer your question. So his questions are these, just to help you with that. Mr. Uwem is asking whether firstly, a very busy person like him, how can he juggle his time at work and preparing for the exam? And secondly, when you are confident to the exam hall and you are confident about what you have done and the result doesn't come out the way you expect, what can one do? What could have gone wrong and what can one do thereafter? So Mr. Uwem, in 1 minute, for each of the questions, please. Thank you. Mr. Awem? Mr. Awem, are you there? Mr. Awem, Amos. Okay, I don't know. I think his network is going. So we will hold on, Mr. Sulaiman Yakub. Let's take another question and let's wait for Mr. Awem to join back. Then we will take the question then. So Mrs. EJ, which will be the last question before we take your question and take Mr. Sulaiman's question after then. So Mrs. EJ, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for this great webinar. My question actually is still based on the academics, but it's based on the ICAN registration. I didn't need help. I actually registered for this ICAN, not personally, but an uncle of mine helped me out to register for it. And I paid for exemption and the normal yearly subscription. But still yet, I'm unable to log in with my student platform as in through ICAN. And I've been complaining to my uncle, and he's still advising me that I can still put in for the exam. So first, my question is, can I still pay for the exam fee? Will it be acknowledged now that I'm not able to log in to my student profile? That is my question. And if there is a way you guys can help me out so I can be able to log in at least, let me know if I'm actually a student or not. But I actually have, I have the number. I have my reg number. But when I put in the reg number, it's not opening. Please, I need help. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. EJ. So there's no problem. We do help students to resolve issues like this. So you can reach out to us in any of the numbers that we gave out earlier, and we would see how we would help you resolve it. One of our customer support will tell you what you need to do so that we can help you resolve the issue. Yes, you can still put in for your exams. This diet is still possible. So yes, but you need to be able to access that portal so that you know your financial status, you know your exam status, and you can view them and go ahead and make your payment and register. So the number is in the chat, and I can still send it again. So, but if you go through the chat, you will see the two numbers that you can contact. So kindly contact them, and by Monday, we will see what we can do about it. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I will do just that. Thank you, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Amos, you are back now, I guess.
Yes, sir. There is
yes, please. Yes, please. I got thrown out briefly. I'm here, please.
Okay, it's good to have you back. So, hope you got the question asked by Mr. Sulaiman Yakub, or do you need me to rephrase it?
Yeah, I would appreciate if you could help me with that, sir, so I don't miss out something.
Okay, so he was asking two questions. Number one is, he said his work is taking a lot of his time, and juggling it with his exam, preparation for his exam, is having an impact on his health. So he's seeking for your advice, or let me say our advice on how it can maintain a balance between these two. That means a very busy work schedule and also preparation for his exams. And also, secondly, he said he's asking what could have gone wrong when you are confident about what you have written in your exams and the results doesn't show that, and what can he do thereafter to avoid a repeat of that?
Okay, so I'll address the question, starting with the first one. So I'll speak from my experience, because I had a situation where I had to write most of my exams working full time. And I know it could be stressful and it could involve a lot of sacrifice. So one of the things I would advise is take a look at your current schedule and then be very truthful and honest with yourself in terms of how many papers can you actually do in a diet. Because first thing first, health is important. You need to take care of yourself. Very important. Without health, there's no need for all of this hustle. So be very truthful to yourself. Your circumstance does not allow you to take 5 papers at a go. Please don't take 5 papers, because work needs to go on. I remember when I had to do my ACCA, some years I had a lot of things on my plate. I was young after ICAN, family, work, and a lot really. I know people that were doing, because I did ICAN, I was entitled to exemption, so I only had to do 4 papers in ACCA. I knew friends that were doing 4 at a go, but I couldn't do 4 at a go because obviously my commitment didn't allow me to do 4 at a go. So I had to take 1 paper per diet. Take 1 paper, I pass, go and sleep, take 1 paper, because the first I would say, try to be very realistic with yourself. How many papers can you take? If you can take 3 comfortably, please take those 3 comfortably. Secondly, look at your priorities. Certain things have to go. That's for sure. So if you spend hours maybe watching football on weekend, following up on news, or discussing politics, some of those things have to go in place of this commitment. So that helps you be able to have time for studies. And thirdly, think of when is the best time for you to study. Are you best studying early in the morning before you go to work? Or are you best studying in the evening, or you want to come back, rest a little, and then study and then rest again before you get back to work? So it's important that you do those evaluation, and that would really help. In terms of exams, yeah, sometimes despite how much you prepare, sometimes things could happen and you really don't pass. But that's not the end of things. You can always pass the next diet. So my advice would be this: first thing first, you need to know why didn't you pass. And the good thing about ICAN is that after each diet, they release the Pathfinder. So the Pathfinder explains, not just provide the answer, but it explains where students got it wrong. Looking at that Pathfinder would help you identify the areas where you think you needed to make improvements. So if, for example, you looked at the fact that, okay, maybe your theory question, you're not giving it as much point as you should, you're not explaining it better, you know, oh, this is where I need to change for the next diet. If it's in the presentation of your calculation, then you could pick the lesson from there, and then you can then be better off in next diet. If it has to do with the fact that maybe you couldn't attempt all the questions because of time, you could then come back and ask yourself, why didn't this happen against my answer? Was I writing too much? And if I was, what can I learn from the marking scheme that's in front of me as to the required quantity or words or I need to write to attain the required marks? So those would be my advice for you, Suleiman. Thank you.
All right. Please, can I add to the second question?
Please go ahead, Olatunji. Please go ahead, Olatunji. Go ahead, sir.
All right. You having confidence in what you write, and then your outcome, the outcome is totally different from your expectation. Some of them can be from little mistakes that we made during the examination. Now, what do I mean by this? At times, you know the requirements, but there are some little mistakes that take out of our marks. Example, if you are preparing any account from your requirements, you first put in the name of the organization of the account requirement. Let's assume that you're having Eco PLC. This Eco PLC on its own, it has its mark. So go through the Pathfinder, you will see the breakdown, the analysis of how you mix out some marks. At times, you are required to calculate some, which requires you to impute the formula. So formula also award you mark, but because you have to quickly rush out and write the requirements and put what the examiner is expecting. But with these little things, you can miss out some marks, and that can fetch you as much as even up to 15 marks from the old questions that you are writing. Please, you also need to watch out for that. Then at times you are having figures that will be provided to you. There are some that will be given to you in thousands at the top, while there are some that will be given to you in million, and the Naira value as well. You need to take note of all this. Then the last thing is the requirements. If you are required to calculate the net present value, for example, of a particular question, your first thing after writing the name of the company that you are preparing the account for, then the next thing will go by the requirements, which is computation or calculation of net present value. Then every other information will now follow. Please always take note of all this.
Thank you so much, Mr. O.M. Amos and Mr. Olatunji Wahab, for that insightful response. So we need to round up now, so that, because I know some of you are having your classes as early as 7 a.m. tomorrow, so that you can take some rest and prepare for your classes. So I'll just take the questions in the chat box quickly, then we can draw the curtain for today. So what are the key topics to focus on in MI generally? And for someone that is not really good in IT, the IT part seems hard. Is there something one can do to pass easily? So Layo, please, pardon me, but you would have to ask your tutor this question in the group, because we don't have time to take that again. So also, Dr. Solabi saying, please, for those of us who joined the tutorial very late, can we still get lectures that were done before we came in? Yes, of course. All the previous recordings are available and can be accessed both on the website and on the mobile app. Okay. Sefa Ahmad Khalid is saying, I have questions to ask. Please, you can send your questions to us by one of those numbers that we gave out earlier. So someone, Fidelis Okeke, saying, greetings all. I really commend IoT for the great job in nurturing ICAN students. Thanks a lot. Please, I have been on ICAN exams for a while now, and I have been writing from Enugu. My well-wishers had advised me to go to Lagos and write, but I believe I could write anywhere and pass. Please advise me. Okay, K. Fidelis, you can write anywhere and pass. It's the same exams, it's the same examiners. The only thing that might just be different is the examination condition. So when I mean by examination condition, maybe the all that you are using, how conducive is it for you and everything. But I know I can put a lot of investment in making sure that their ICAN centers are conducive for students. I think it's just the location that differs anyway. So whether you write in Lagos or in Abuja or in London or anywhere you are writing in the world, it's still the same exams. And coming down to Lagos, well, you can give it a try anyway, if you don't mind the cost and everything. And I don't know if it's going to work for you, fine and good, but it's the same exam. There's no difference in exam. And I know some of you have this notion that those outside Lagos where I don't know, maybe they intentionally fail you or not. It's a lie. It's a lie. We had a prize winner last year, and she was living in Anambra. She was living in Anambra. She took her exams in Anambra. She became a prize winner. She didn't have to be in Lagos. She didn't have to be in Abuja. She was not in any of the major cities. So that's it. So someone is asking, please, is IoT tutorials enough for the exams, or I have to merge it with a pack? Thank you. So I will have to redirect you to the tutors. I think they're in the best position. So please contact your individual tutors on this. So I think that would be all.
So, hello, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
There's a question I would love to ask, or I would love if any of our tutors can address. So,
okay, please, you have to do that very fast. It's 10:12. We need to bring the event to an end now. So please do that in less than 1 minute.
All right, sir. So I would love to ask any of the tutors. I would love to direct this question to any of the tutors. Like, okay, in regards to students that are not of an accounting background, so how do you adapt your teaching approach to accommodate students who do not have an accounting background or finance background?
Okay, who is going to take that? Please go repeat your question again.
Oh, all right, sir. So students that do not have an accounting or a finance background, so how do our tutors, ICAN tutors, adapt their teaching to accommodate such students in terms of technicalities and terms like that? Yes, sir.
Okay, so Mr. Uwen, please help us with that so that we can draw the curtain.
Okay, so okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so for a student that doesn't have a finance background, first and foremost, there should be that motivation from the students to want to take ICAN, and that means extra work on the student's part, really. One of the things I can do is that they place the student at a level where they think they could go from. So obviously, if you order the finance background, we don't expect you to start from the professional level. We expect you to start from the lower level. And then with that, you can then gain the finance knowledge to then grow up. So at IoT, the tutors, based on the level, break the concept down to the level that the student will be able to understand and move along. However, if you're at the professional level, it's expected that at that level, you should be very familiar with finance terms and what happens around the finance space. The professional tutors would not want to go down to the skills level teaching because of the level it is professional, really. So if you happen to get exemption, but maybe you've not done finance, or maybe because of qualification you have that exemption, it therefore means that you have to take an extra effort to get yourself up to speed. But if you are in lower levels, foundation skills, you are sure that the tutors will break it down to you up to that particular level, what you need to know at that level. And that's why I can't even give you exemption to not start at professional level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Uwem. So we have come to the end of another live webinar. I would like to appreciate all the participants and especially the tutors that made time out of their busy schedule to join us tonight and contribute their quota into shaping the next generation of chartered accountants, and also to my colleagues at IoT admin. Miss Queen Esther Okwe and Abdul Martin Orumo. Thanks for joining me tonight. I wish everyone good knowledge and success in their future endeavors. Thank you all, and do have a great day. Take care. Bye.
Good night, sir.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Good night. Good night.
Good night. Have a lovely evening. Hope to see you next week when we'll be discussing about taxation and advanced taxation. That will be on the 8th of September 2023. If you would like to reach us, you can reach us on 070-457-041 or 0811-0866-89. They can visit our website www.icanonlinetutors.com.ng. Thank you, everyone, and do have a great evening.
Thanks for the
Take care.
effort.
Bye for now.